Hi. So I'm here to speak about the CentOS community build service. I'll try to present this service, how we build it, and what is it used for. My name is Thomas. I will present this talk with Brian. He will take over after a few minutes to show you some live demo if everything works, hopefully. So quick word on me. I'm Alpha CC on Freenode. If you're looking for me later for talking on the mailing list, I'm a service manager at CERN. I did a bit of OpenStack in the past. Now I'm doing Koji, and I'm still doing a bit of Scientific Linux. I'm part of the main team that is doing Scientific Linux CERN. And all the usual stuff you're doing where you're kind of system administrator, puppetization, migration to the new version. As people ask if you want a job, you can go there, and there's few. And if you are students, there's a lot of possibility to work for CERN, to have fun. So please do. The agenda is like that. We'll start quick introductions, and I'll present Koji that we use for the building system. I'll present how we do repository. I'll speak about signing. It's not completely there yet, but we are working on it, so it should be ready in a few weeks. And finally, Brian will talk about SendPKG. I'll come back to that later. So the main use case for the build service was one to build RPMs. So we wanted all the special interest group be able to contribute to the community. So we need a central service to build all the RPMs. We started to build from source RPM, but the ultimate goal is to build everything from a Git repository. The second step was to distribute RPM. So of course, when you build them, you want to install them and test them. So this is the second step. Short term, we did that for all the dev and the testers. And long term, we want to have an automatic workflow that signs the RPM and distribute it somewhere accessible to user. We are not completely done with this step. I'll come back to that a bit later. But it's a matter of few weeks. This is a schema of what the first thing I did when I designed a Koji, a service around Koji. So this is what a user wants. A user wants to build a package, then know when it's done, and then install it on his machine. So this was basically the main use case. For reaching our goals, we have basically three main components, which is Git. Centos project is using Git as a Git service, so you can read a bit about this software over there. If you have more questions, we have few persons that know it better than me around and that can answer. We use Koji, so Koji is what Fedora and Apple is using. We wanted to keep an experience close to what Fedora is using to be able to build package, so people don't have to relearn everything. So this is a well-known tool from the Fedora community. And finally, Mash allow to generate repository directly from Koji, and looking out, we tag them. I'll come back to the detail later. So the conversion of Koji now, there's four main components, which is the Koji Hub, which basically abstract Postgre and the file system hierarchy for you. It's a XML RPC that is run by mod WSGI. You have the Koji builder that are the main components, that are doing the action. Basically, you have this task, and they are run by the Koji builder. So when you create a new RPM, it will run by one of the builder. At this time, we have three of them for CentOS. We will be working on putting more if we need, but for the moment, it's far enough for the workload we have. Kojira is a small tool that keeps all the repo updated. So it's internal mainly for Koji. Each time you have a new package build, it will be added to a new internal repo. So so Koji can see it to do chain building, for example. So if you build a package that depends on another package, then you don't need to do anything because Kojira is managing that for you. You just need to send the package in the order you want to build them. The clients, so there's two clients. There's a web interface and a command line tool. I'll show you a few screenshots right now. So this is the main web interface. This shows you what kind of target we have for CentOS. You have host tab as well. So you can see all the builders that are ready, not ready, enable, and not enable. And finally, if you want to see what builds have been done recently, you can go to the build tab and it will show you that people build all these components, all these packages. For the CLI, I'll just show you quickly now how it goes. I'll explain each command later, but basically, if you need to build a package, it will be around 3 commands. But you need to know a bit about the Koji naming of different action. So I will go in details now for that in Koji 101. So there are a lot of different terms to describe Koji. So please bear with me. I have a full example on the next slide. It will be easier to understand, but I will just state quickly. So basically, Koji has different tags, which are where the package ends up. Then you have external repo, which are all the repository that we use to build. So mainly CentOS 7 OS update extra, CentOS 6 OS updates extra. All this repository are defined in Koji. A build tag, so it's a tag where you define which package you want in your build route. A target, so a target has a build route, a build tag, and a destination tag. So it says, okay, when I send the package to this target, it will be built with this build route, and as a destination, it will go to, for example, Cloud 7 release or testing. A package, it's an RPM name, so GCC, for example. Build is the result build from source RPM or Git, so it can be GCC-4-1-this tag. And finally, there's 2 actions that user may have to do is to tag and untag a package. So basically, you can assign to a repository or unassign a package. This is mainly what it means. I'll show you an example a bit later. So, more naming convention. We needed to have some convention to be sure that it's not end up in a mess to have different SIG, because for Fedora, they have a bit less targets because they don't have to change these tags, they don't have to build software collection yet. So we tried to come with a way to define build tags, targets, and destinations that make sense. So I won't go in all details because I think I will lost you. But if it was discussed on the CentOS Devel mailing list, we agree on this kind of naming, and so far we didn't have any issue with it. So if you want more details about that, I can show you. I wanted to show you. Okay. I have a full example to show you how you work with Koji. So when you subscribe to a SIG and then you want to start to contribute, that your membership has been, you will get a certificate and you will be able to use the command line. You can do basically operation to add package to a different, so let's say you want to build OpenStack Glance, so you need to add it where you want to build, and then you need to send a Git URL where you have your package name. After that, your package will appear directly in testing, so you will be able to consume it from a repository that is generated automatically by us. And when you are happy with the package and you want to make it release ready, you can just tag the build like that. I wanted to describe a bit the build target. What is a build target? So a build target, as I mentioned before, is composed by a destination tag. So it will be the default destination tag where your package will end up. You have some external repo where you have all the dependencies needed, and then you have a build tag. A build tag on top of that has 2 different build routes you can define. One from the source RPM if you want to build from source RPM, and one that is for the Git builds. When you have a build tag in Koji, you can see that you have all the details. You have the number of packages that has been associated to this tag, the number of builds, and you can see all the external repo and inheritance. We do some inheritance on the testing tag to allow chain building. So if you want to build a package that depend on each other, you won't have to do anything. It will be done for you by Kojira, as I mentioned before. Then I wanted to show you the result build. So you can see who built it, you can see when it started, how long it took. You can see where it's tagged right now. And finally, you can have the detail of the RPM. You can even download the RPM directly from here to have a look. You have a nice feature as well, it's the build logs link. So you can see all detail of what was done in mock and in the checkout of the Git, for example. So you have access to all the logs. It's quite open, and you can check it. And one nice thing is the changelog. It's really handy to have the changelog in there, so you don't have to. Sometimes you just want to check what was this package about, and it's quite useful. I use it all the time as well on Fedora, on Koji Fedora project.org. It's very handy. Administration, so we made a little script to put together all this naming issue and how to build a new SIG. So basically you can check the code, it's some bash, it's really easy, and you should be able to adapt it to your need if you want to do some Koji in-house. Nothing very special here. It's available, yeah, I wanted to mention, it's available on the CBS tool Git repo. So if you want to see, please just connect and have a look. Now I wanted to speak a bit about the integration with Git. So this is the workflow. So a user wants to commit to Git. Then a user submits a Git URL to the build system. Then the builder receives the jobs. Koji builder executes a Git clone from this URL. Then we have a specific command to get the binary source for all the packages. So there's some magic. It's the same. It's available at the CBS tools and the Git CentOS Git command. Sorry, CentOS Git command. So you can have a look to this script if needed. Basically, it's look for binary package on a look aside cache, download them, and then you are able to have all your source needed for building the RPM. And the final step, of course, is to build the source RPM that has been generated like that. So everything is available in the build.sys tool package that we build in Koji. So if you want to have a look as well, you can just download that or go to Git to have all the tools. The MASH workflow now. So when you did all that, what you need to do is basically to distribute the RPM in a nice yum repository, so user, tester, and everybody can grab them. So every time you build the RPM in Koji, 10 minutes later, it will appear in the testing repository. So you will be able to consume it quite quickly. So you can build something, then you will be able to test, install on your dev machine, do some stuff. And then when you're happy, you can basically tag it to a new tag, and it will be the dash release tag, and it will appear. The dash release repository not automatically signed yet. We are working on that, so I hope we get that soon. And but we already sign it manually and push it to some different server. So if you want the details, I can show you a bit later. I wanted to show you how MASH works. So in MASH, you define basically a target, and then you have different options. So the important one are if you want the debug info packages, if you want the multi-lib packages, you associate the Koji tag. So this is the important part. So it will say that all the RPMs that are tagged, all the builds, sorry, that are tagged in CloudSys release will be taken for this repository. You can check the key, the GPG key if you want, and you can specify arch if you want to have only one arch. For example, for 7, you have only x86-64. And as well, you can generate delta RPM if needed. So then I wanted to mention what we did. So it's the whole team. It's not me only. There's a lot of people working on that. So thanks to them. We did a lot of user training. So when people comes to a more standard world where some people didn't know about mock, didn't know about RPM build, so we have to show them how it works. And as Koji is a nice interface on top of that, it's quite easy to use, but still you have to grab the concept. So don't be scared. We are working on making it better, and Brian will show you CentPKG that will emulate something like FedPKG to have all these step automatized, sorry. So you don't have to remember all the Koji command if you just want to do some builds. We sent some few patches to Koji to support different layouts than Fedora. All patches are upstream now, thanks to Mike. The look-aside cache, so a way to upload binary. So we don't have binary in Git. Binary are on the look-aside cache. So the code to put that in production is also available in CBS tool. You can have a look. Jan helped us to do the image factory support. So we are able in Koji to build some Docker or atomic image. This is what we use now to have the test images. We did add new builder thanks to Fabien. We had some Puppet. We had some Puppet magic, and now builder are quite easy to spin up. So it will be good for the future if we need to add more. CentPKG. So I'll let Brian speak a bit more about that later. And the last thing I'm doing right now is investigate signing. So signing, Fedora has a nice solution called Sigil that allow you to sign in an efficient and secure way from different machines. So you have different components. You have a server that has the key, and then you have some bridge where you can send all the needed requests, and it will sign the RPMs. You never communicate directly with the server, and this can be isolated, and you can limit by firewall or anything else you want. So you don't put your key at risk. We are working on that. We are not 100% sure about how we will integrate this workflow, but it looks a really nice tool, and as Fedora uses it for a long time, we are quite confident about it. I just wanted to show you a few commands how it works. So there's two ways. You can sign a package locally, or you can use Koji. So, well, nothing fancy here, just command line. And basically, there is some possibility to do some callback in Koji. So we will have a callback that calls this command when you finish to build a package. This has been tested by many people around, so it should be fine. I will now just give a few words about what is CentPKG and leave Brian continue on that. So this CentPKG, as I mentioned, is the same, is close to FedPKG. It has less feature now, but we are working on it. And it's a way to interact with all this technology, so users don't need to learn all the details. So
okay. So I thought I'd go ahead and just show this off a little bit. And if I can click this on my shirt. There we go. I'll show you a couple of websites that where you can get more information from CentPackage. It's I basically took a lot of this stuff from Fedora because there's a project already out there called RPackage. That's the library that does the actual all of the glue behind the scenes that are needed to make this work. That's already open source in Fedora, and we were able to just use it and modify it to our layout and other things in CentOS. So if you go to git.centos.org/summary/centpackage.git, that's the development repository for what we have. And the nice thing is if you're interested in contributing there, we're pretty good about accepting patches and all that stuff. On the wiki, if you're looking to get started, there's a how-to page. And right now, We're just recommending Cent package for testing purposes only. We're not quite ready to do a release yet because we're still working out some of the details that we need to modify for our use case in Centos. But if you want to go through the install process, we have a walkthrough here that'll get you there. So I'll kind of show you how Cent package works. So Thomas mentioned that when you want to build a package in Koji, you sort of have to know a few things. You have to know beforehand you have to know the target that you're going to build it into. You have to know the entire Git URL, including the SHA hash of the commit that you want to use. And that's sometimes a little bit tricky to get because you have to go through a lot of different operations to find that. So what Cent package does is it sort of automates that process for you. I have, let's see if we can make this bigger for you. Yeah, I have checked out here a copy of A2PS. This is just a package that shipped with the CentOS 7 distribution. What I have here is each directory represents one of the branches in our Git repository. So we have a C6, C6+, C7. Those correspond to the distribution releases. Right now we only have content in C7, but that represents what actually shipped out in the distribution. So if we head into, we have the original A2PS spec. And that's a lot of text. You don't need to care about that. But the idea is, once you have a SIG and you get your branch created, let's say that you created your own SIG and you wanted to build your own version of A2PS to ship in your repo, we would create the Git branch for you. And that allows us to do a lot of things because each of these Git branches matches to a Koji build target. So I know in C7 there's a particular build target on Koji that I'm always going to build packages in that branch to. And that's sort of what Cent package does, is it consolidates all of that information and gives you sort of the syntactic sugar to do all that. So if I wanted to kick off a build, here I am in the C7 branch. I just type Cent package build, and it knows which Koji to contact. That would be the one for the CentOS project. It knows the canonical Git URL, including the entire hash, and it knows which target to send it to. Now, I don't want to go ahead and I don't want to tag this into any of the targets right now, so I'm just going to do a scratch build, and basically what that does is it builds it on Koji, but then it doesn't put it in any of the repos that are going to get shipped out. And I'm going to go ahead and start that, and it's probably going to take a while. I'm not sure. I may be connected. Yeah, here we go. So you can see it's creating this task here, and this is evident on the web page that Thomas showed off. So you can see right here, there's an active build going on for A2PS coming from that Git build hash. So that's the core workflow of Cent package right now, is checking things out from Git and then just building them in Koji. Now there's some other methods that will be coming soon, like working with how do you actually get stuff out to your production or to the release repositories once you're ready. Because right now everything is automatically tagged first into the testing repositories. And that's something that I think Cent package could probably do in the future. I know Fedora does that with their updates process, and it interacts with a lot of their systems. So I'm looking forward to to sort of building out Cent package a little bit and adding, implementing the things that are already there, but also adding on functionality for the project itself. So if you're interested in helping out with that, like I said, the Centos project is incredible about accepting contributions. So I started off, I sort of put up a couple of files on the mailing list in, I think it was June or July, and suddenly here I am speaking in front of all of you. So I've really enjoyed the process getting here so far, and I hope that we can work together to make some cool tools for the Centos SIGs. So for right now, I think we've got a few minutes left so that we can take questions on either side for the build system or Cent package or anything you like. Yeah.
So what do you think about the package its source?
Our package? Well, so Cent package is, it's an R package site. So we consume it directly. We're in the process, we would like, there are some features that don't match well with the Centos project tools. So we're working on maybe modifying that and seeing if we can get that upstream.
Because I'm writing like RDOPG2 for the OpenStack, which is kind of something similar, and it's
Right.
missing in Koji, and it should be built in Centos build system, so we should talk about it later.
Right.
But thing is that the source code is really horrible. Like so horrible. I was interfacing it with it. It's not modular. It's like not
Sure.
visible. It is like really bad. I like decided to write my own tool instead because of how horrible it was. So
Okay.
I wanted to ask you to consider writing from scratch or just like use it.
Well,
We survive this.
so the R package devs are they're sort of active on that, but I think I think R package could be a good community point for that because there are a lot of R package sites out there, people who are using it at their workplace or something like that. It's definitely an opportunity to see if we can get together to make some of those changes that you're talking about. Any other question? Yeah. You want to start?
I think we are still evaluating that because this is a valid point. Maybe we will sign all the packages that are ending up in testing with a separate key, and for the release we will have a key that we sign a bit more manually, maybe like a few times a day or something like that. But we didn't decide. So if you have strong opinion, please come to us and we can discuss it. Well, there's many ways to do it. At work, as I don't have the same issue, I sign everything with different key, but I sign everything as soon as it's built. Maybe it's not the best way to do it, and as we didn't decide yet for the CentOS community, we are looking for input on that. If you have good ideas. Nobody else? Okay.
Because we did see that also CERN is involved, how much of the infrastructure or how much of the tools is shared with scientific vendors?
So at this point for Koji, we don't share that many tools. Fermilab is using Koji as well for rebuilding. So we are still part of this effort for 5 and 6. I'm still involved a lot because we're still using 5 and 6 a lot. This is our main distribution at CERN. 7 is quite new for us, and as you know, we are not the guy that moves the fastest to the new version because we have a lot of users that would have stayed on 4 if they could. So now we have mainly CentOS Scientific Linux 5 and 6, and we decided to join efforts with CentOS 7 for the development, to join a bigger community. But Fermilab is continuing their development on Scientific Linux. So I don't have much information on that, but I know they are using Koji as well. In terms of sharing tool, we put all the tools we had almost inside CERN in the CentOS Git. So it's mainly the same tools that I use at work, and now I adapt for the CentOS community. Nothing else? Okay, thanks a lot.